The driveway at my house made a specific sound under car tires. Small grey stones that crunched and popped when anyone drove over them. I can still hear that sound in my head sometimes. The sound of those stones under the tires of my mother's car when she left for work. The sound they made when my father came home late. The sound they did not make for 11 months because I was not there to hear them. I want to tell you about a Wednesday in March, not the day everything changed, the day before. The day when I was still just a lonely kid in a small town in Ohio who spent too much time on her phone. The sky was grey that day. Everything in our town was grey in March. Grey sky, grey streets, grey mood. I sat in my bedroom after school and I remember thinking that my walls were the colour of old newspapers. My mother had painted them beige when I was 7 and I had hated them ever since. That Wednesday I logged into the app where I spent most of my time, the app with the blue icon that everyone at school used. I had 237 friends on there, but I only really talked to maybe 5 people, and even those 5 people felt far away. My best friend from elementary school had moved to Columbus the year before. The girls at my high school had their groups already, and I was not really part of any of them. I was just there, just existing in the spaces between other people's lives. That is when I saw his message. His name was Jake. At least that is what his profile said. His picture showed a boy with dark hair and a nice smile, 16 years old. He lived 2 towns over. He liked the same music I did. He had sent me a friend request 3 days before, and I had accepted it because his profile looked normal, safe, just another kid from somewhere nearby. His first message said, "Hey, I saw you like the Midnight Hours. Have you heard their new album?" I had heard it. I loved it. We started talking about music, and it felt easy, natural. He did not make fun of me or ignore my messages for hours like the kids at school did. He just talked to me like I was interesting, like what I had to say mattered. We talked every day after that, not just about music, about everything, about how I felt invisible at school, about my parents who worked all the time and barely noticed I existed, about how I wanted to leave Ohio and go somewhere bigger, somewhere I could be someone different, someone better. Jake told me he understood. He said he felt the same way in his town. He said he was planning to move to Pittsburgh after he graduated. He said I seemed really mature for my age, special, different from other kids. I want you to understand something. I was not stupid. I was lonely. There is a difference. I knew about stranger danger. I knew about people who lied online. My school had assemblies about it. But Jake did not feel like a stranger. After 2 months of talking every single day, he felt like my best friend, my only real friend. It was May when he first suggested we meet. The trees outside my bedroom window had finally turned green. Spring had arrived even in our grey town. Jake said there was a music festival in Pittsburgh in 2 weeks. His cousin could get us tickets. Did I want to go? I said yes. I should pause here and tell you what I tell myself now. That version of me, that girl who said yes, she was not making a choice the way adults make choices. She was still a child. Her brain was still developing. The part that understands consequences and sees danger was not finished yet. Scientists can show you this on brain scans. The frontal lobe does not fully form until you are 25. But I did not know any of that then. I just knew I wanted to go. I wanted to see Jake in person. I wanted to do something that was not sitting in my grey bedroom, in my grey town, waiting for my life to start. The morning he picked me up was a Saturday. My parents both worked Saturdays. I told them I was going to study at the library with some girls from school. I do not think they really listened to the details. They just said okay and left. Jake picked me up at the end of my street. He said he would meet me there, so we did not wake up my parents with his car. I walked down to the corner with my small backpack. I had packed an extra shirt and some money I had been saving. I thought I would be home by evening. The car was not what I expected. It was older, a blue sedan with rust spots around the wheel wells. But Jake was in the driver's seat, so I opened the door and got in. Except it was not Jake. The man behind the wheel was not 16. He had lines around his eyes, stubble on his jaw. hair that was starting to thin on top. He looked at me and smiled and said, "Hey Lily, I am Jake. Get in." I stood there with the car door open and my hand on the handle. Every cell in my body was screaming at me to run. But he was still smiling, and he said, "I know I do not look like my pictures. I used old photos because I was worried you would not talk to me if you knew I was older. But we have been talking for months. You know me. You know who I am." I should have run. I got in the car. I tell you this not because I want you to judge that girl. I tell you because I want you to understand how someone like him knows exactly what to say. How he had spent months learning which words would work on me, learning my weak spots, my need to be seen, my fear of being rude, my desperate desire to believe that someone actually cared about me. He started driving, not toward Pittsburgh, toward the highway going the opposite direction. I asked where we were going. He said we were taking a different route. He said there was somewhere he wanted to show me first. A surprise. I could feel my heart hitting against my chest so hard I thought my ribs might crack. I asked if we could go back. I said I had forgotten something. He kept driving. He stopped smiling. "Lily," he said, and his voice was different now, flat, cold. "Here is what is going to happen. You are going to sit there quietly, and we are going to drive to Pennsylvania. You are going to do what I tell you to do. If you try to run or scream or cause any problems, I have your address. I know where your parents work. I know your mother drives a silver Toyota and leaves the house at 7:30 every morning. Do you understand what I am saying?" I understood. We drove for 4 hours. I watched Ohio disappear behind us. I watched my phone die because I had forgotten to charge it the night before. I watched exit signs pass and thought about jumping out of the moving car, but I did not. I just sat there with my hands in my lap and tried not to throw up. The house in Pennsylvania was on a street that looked normal, regular houses with regular lawns. A woman was pushing a stroller on the sidewalk. A man was washing his car. Nobody looked at us as we pulled into the driveway of a white house with black shutters. The address was 8142. I remember because I stared at those numbers while we sat in the car and he made a phone call. He hung up and looked at me. "New name," he said. "From now on, you are Amber. 17 years old, you ran away from home and you need money. That is your story if anyone asks." Inside the house there were 3 other women. I will not call them girls, even though 2 of them were barely older than me. They looked tired, empty. They did not ask my real name or where I was from. One of them, Rosa, just showed me to a room and said, "Do not make him angry. It is easier if you just do what he says." The room had a bed with a pink comforter that smelled like artificial flowers, the kind of smell that comes from laundry detergent or air fresheners. Too strong, fake. There was a mirror on the wall with a crack running through it like lightning. I looked at myself in that broken mirror and did not recognize the face looking back. That first night he explained how it would work. There were expectations I needed to meet. People would come to the house. I would see them in my room. He would collect the money. My debt, he said, was $15,000 for the ride from Ohio, for the room, for food, for protection. Every day I did not meet the expectations, the debt went up. Every day I caused problems, the debt went up. Every day I cooperated, the debt went down. The math never made sense, but I was too scared to say that. I will not describe what happened in that room. Some things I keep private, not because I am ashamed anymore, but because those details belong to me and I get to choose who knows them. What I will tell you is this. I learned to leave my body, to float up near the ceiling and watch myself from far away, to count things. The water stains on the ceiling tiles, 23. The number of cars that passed outside between 5 in the evening and midnight, 57 on weeknights, more on weekends. I learned that the man who brought me there was named Stephen. I learned that he had 3 phones and he was always looking at them. I learned that some of the people who came to that house were young and some were old and some wore wedding rings and some showed me pictures of their children. I learned that humans are capable of extraordinary disconnection, of doing harm while telling themselves they are doing nothing wrong. There was a man who came on Tuesdays. He worked in insurance. He told me about his daughter who was on the swim team. He showed me videos of her swimming. Then he paid money to exploit someone who should have been on a swim team too. He never saw the contradiction, or maybe he saw it and just did not care. The debt never went down. This will not surprise you. Stephen moved us every few weeks, Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, back to Pennsylvania. Different houses, but they all had the same smell, that fake flour laundry smell mixed with cigarettes and old carpet. I stopped knowing what day it was, what month. Time became something that just happened to me instead of something I moved through. My phone he kept in his car. Sometimes he would show me messages from my parents asking where I was, begging me to come home. He would laugh and say, "They did not even notice you were gone for 3 days. That is how much they care about you." I want to tell you about a moment in month 7. We were in a house in a town I did not know the name of. It was October, and I could hear Halloween decorations rattling in the wind outside, plastic skeletons on someone's porch. A happy holiday in a normal neighborhood while I was somewhere else entirely. Rosa was sick, really sick, fever and vomiting. She asked if we could see a doctor. Stephen said no. He said she just needed to work through it. But that night her fever got worse, and one of the other women, Carmen, started yelling that Rosa was going to die if we did not get help. Stephen made a call. An hour later, a man came who said he was a doctor, but I do not think he was. He gave Rosa some pills and left. Rosa got better, but something shifted in me that night. I realized that we were completely disposable to Stephen. We could die in these houses and he would just replace us. We were not people to him. We were products, inventory, numbers on his phone screen. I started looking for ways out, not escapes. I was too scared for that, and he had made his threats very clear about what would happen to my family if I ran. But small acts of resistance, not smiling when people came to the door, refusing to pretend I was happy to be there. Stephen noticed. He started getting angry more often, threatening me more. In month 11 we were in a different Pennsylvania town. I had learned to read road signs when we drove. This one was called Harrisburg. Stephen had placed ads online for all of us. This was his system. Pictures that did not quite show our faces, descriptions that made us sound willing, phone numbers that men could call. What Stephen did not know was that law enforcement was watching those ads. They had been building a case for months, tracking the phones, tracking the locations, tracking the patterns. On a Tuesday in February there was a knock on the door. A different kind of knock, loud, official. Stephen ran for the back door, but there were officers there too. They took him down hard on the kitchen floor, and I heard him yelling about his rights and his lawyer. An officer came to my room, a woman with dark hair pulled back tight and kind eyes. She said, "You are safe now. We are here to help you. What is your name? Your real name?" I could not remember how to say it at first. I had been Amber for so long. But then it came back. "Lily," I said. "My name is Lily Anderson." They wrapped us in blankets even though it was not cold. They gave us water and asked if we were hurt. They asked if we needed medical attention. They were gentle, but I still felt terrified. I had been so controlled for so long that even kindness felt dangerous, like a trick. They called my parents. I heard my mother's voice over the phone, and I started crying so hard I could not breathe. She said they had been looking for me every single day. They had never stopped searching. I had thought they did not care, but they had been calling hospitals and police stations and posting on social media and driving to other cities asking if anyone had seen me. The officers drove me to a hospital. They did tests and took pictures and asked questions I was too tired to answer. Then they took me to a facility where other survivors stayed while they figured out where we would go next. I slept for 14 hours. When I woke up, I did not know where I was, and I panicked until a counselor came and reminded me I was safe. Going home was complicated. The town I remembered did not feel the same. My bedroom with its newspaper walls felt like it belonged to a different person. My parents looked older, scared. They moved around me like I was made of glass. They did not know what to say or how to act, neither did I. People at school had heard what happened. Some of them were kind, some of them whispered, some of them asked questions that felt like knives. Was it true I had run away with an older man? Did I know what I was doing? Why did I not just leave? I stopped going to school. I could not handle the stares and the questions and the way teachers looked at me with pity mixed with suspicion. Instead, I started therapy, 3 times a week with a woman named Dr. Patterson, who had an office that smelled like lavender and had plants in every corner. The first few months I did not talk much. I just sat there and cried or stared at the wall. Dr. Patterson said that was okay. She said healing was not linear. She said trauma lives in the body, and we had to teach my body that it was safe now. Some days were good. Days when I woke up and felt almost normal. When I could eat breakfast without feeling sick. When I could imagine a future beyond just surviving. Other days were bad. Days when I heard gravel under car tires and had to lock myself in my room because I thought Stephen had found me. Days when I saw a man who looked like the Tuesday insurance man and I had to sit down on the floor of Target because my legs stopped working. Days when I smelled fake flour laundry detergent and had to run to the bathroom to throw up. I learned that recovery is not a destination, it is a process. Some days I move forward, some days I slide back. Both are okay. Both are part of healing. I learned that what happened to me was not my fault. I say this not because I believe it deeply every single day, but because I am trying to believe it. There is a difference. Dr. Patterson says that is normal too. She says I am grieving for the girl I was before. The girl who trusted people easily. The girl who thought the world was mostly safe. That girl is gone, and I have to learn to be someone new. I learned that my parents were dealing with their own trauma. They blamed themselves. They replayed every moment leading up to that Saturday morning, every time they worked late, every time they were too tired to really listen, every sign they might have missed. I had to learn that their pain did not erase mine, but that we could hold both at the same time. Stephen went to prison, 25 years, not long enough, but longer than many traffickers get. I did not go to the trial. I was not ready for that. But other survivors did. They testified. They told their stories. They looked him in the eye and said, "You do not own us anymore." I started speaking about what happened to me a year after I was rescued. Not because I wanted to, but because Dr. Patterson suggested it might help. She said sometimes telling your story takes away its power over you. Sometimes it helps other people too. The first time I spoke was at a small event for a local organisation that works with trafficking survivors. Maybe 20 people in the audience. I stood at a microphone and my hands were shaking so hard I had to hold the podium to stay upright. I told a shortened version of my story. I cried through most of it. When I finished, a woman came up to me and said her daughter was talking to someone online, and now she was going to have a different conversation with her. She thanked me. That was when I understood why telling this story mattered. I am not healed. I do not know if I ever will be completely healed, but I am healing. I am learning to live in a body that feels safe. I am learning to trust people again in small, careful ways. I am learning that what happened to me does not define my entire existence. It is part of my story, but it is not the whole story. I am 21 now. I take classes online, I work part-time at a bookstore, I have a therapist I see every week. I have a small group of friends who know my story and do not treat me differently because of it. I have a cat named Pepper who sleeps on my bed and purrs when I have nightmares. Small things, normal things, things that matter more than I ever understood before. I want to tell you why I am sharing this with you today. Not for pity, not for shock value, but because somewhere there is another lonely kid sitting in their bedroom thinking that no one sees them, thinking that someone online who seems to understand them could not possibly be dangerous. thinking that what they learned about stranger danger does not apply to someone who has been their friend for months. I need that kid to know this. If someone online seems too good to be true, they probably are. If someone much older is telling you that you are mature for your age, that is a warning sign, not a compliment. If someone wants to meet you in person and tells you to keep it secret from your parents, that is danger, not romance. If someone makes you feel special by making you feel separate from everyone else who loves you, that is manipulation, not connection. I need parents to know this. Your kids' online life is their real life. The people they talk to on apps are real people. Some of those people are predators who have spent years learning exactly how to target vulnerable children. Talk to your kids, really talk to them. Not just lectures about safety, but actual conversations about their lives, about their loneliness, about their fears. Make sure they know they can come to you without judgment when something feels wrong. I need you to know this. Trafficking does not just happen in other countries or big cities. It happens in small towns in Ohio, in normal-looking houses in Pennsylvania. It happens to kids who are not running away from terrible situations, but just looking for connection. It happens because there are people who see vulnerability and choose to exploit it instead of help it. But I also need you to know this. Survivors are stronger than you think. We are not broken beyond repair. We are not forever damaged. We are people who went through something terrible and are learning to live again. We deserve support, not suspicion. We deserve compassion, not judgment. We deserve to tell our stories in our own time and in our own ways. If you know someone who seems isolated or is spending a lot of time online with people you do not know, pay attention. Ask questions. Be present. Sometimes the smallest intervention can change everything. If you are that lonely kid right now and someone online is making you feel seen for the first time in forever, please talk to a trusted adult before you agree to meet them. I know it feels like no one understands. I know it feels like this person is the only one who really gets you. But I promise there are people in your actual life who will see you if you give them the chance. And if the person online is real and safe, they will understand why you need to be careful. If you are already in a situation where someone is controlling you or hurting you or threatening you, it is not too late. There are people who can help. Organizations that specialize in this, hotlines you can call, officers who are trained to understand. You are not alone, and it is not your fault, and there is a way out. The gravel in my driveway still makes that same sound under car tires, but now when I hear it, I do not panic. Now it just sounds like my mother coming home from work, like my father pulling in after a long day, like normal life happening the way it should. Some days that sound is enough. Some days just being alive and safe and home is enough. And some days I remember that scared girl who got into a car with a stranger, and I send love back to her across all that time and pain. She did not know what would happen next. She did not know she would survive. She did not know that 7 years later she would be writing these words to help someone else survive too. But she did survive. I survived. And if you are reading this and you are scared or alone or being hurt, I want you to know that you can survive too. Your story does not have to end the way someone else writes it. You get to keep living. You get to keep fighting. You get to heal. That is what I want you to take from this. Not horror at what happened, but hope that we are resilient, that we can rebuild, that we can take our pain and turn it into purpose, that we can speak truth and maybe protect someone else from the same fate. The girl I was before is gone. The woman I am becoming is still learning who she wants to be. But I am here. I am alive. I am telling my story. And that matters more than Stephen or any of the people who hurt me could have ever imagined. If you need help, please reach out. National Human Trafficking Hotline, 1-888-373-7888. Available 24/7. Confidential. They can help. You deserve help. You deserve safety. You deserve to come home. Remember, you are not alone. You are not to blame. You are not beyond saving. You are a person who deserves to be seen and heard and protected. Please do not give up. Please keep fighting. Please stay alive. The world needs your story. The world needs you.